Do you know what it looks like? It looks like a blanket, like, wow. And the knit is so tight that you can't even see anything under. Now this makes sense. That's why they say cotton fabrics are breathable. Ooh, that looks very weird. So from the title of this video, you probably guessed that I'm going to be combining my science background with what I currently do. I'm going to be looking at some fabrics under a small microscope that George and I got off Amazon. So if you don't know, I actually have a degree in microbiology, so I am very curious about things on a molecular level, which means what the everyday eye cannot see. Assisting me today is my lovely assistant.
Hello.
George is over it. He has been setting up all morning. He's going to be helping me put the fabric bits underneath the microscope, and there's going to be like a screen here. And basically we'll just react to it together, okay? So let's get into this video. So I'm going to be starting off with some simple cotton fabric. Just simple white plain cotton. Oh wow.
We need a little bit of time to focus.
It looks like a sponge. Do you know what it looks like? It looks like a blanket, like a throw. It looks like a throw. Well, you can clearly see the thread that goes up and over. And then you can see like tiny specks of like black and orange. Probably just like on the surface of the fabric, but this looks really, really cool. Whoa, I just think it's so impressive that science allows us to do something like this. Like here you can really tell and see the separate threads, the separate strings, and you can see how it travels into the mesh of the rest of the fabric, because this edge was where I pulled some of the thread from. So you can see the individual, they look like prongs just gathered next to each other. And because they used to be woven, you can see the ridges but you can see it with the naked eye, but not as big as the threads are right now. That blade is, it looks huge, but in real life, it's actually a very skinny blade. So the second fabric we're going to be looking at is this Scuba fabric. It has lots of nice stretch in there. This is a knitted fabric, which is really different from the first one that we looked at. And I'm curious to see what this actually looks like underneath the microscope. Wow. That is just insane. It just looks like endless rows of braids that has somehow joined together. That's what it just looks like to me. Or like, you know, like a chain that has like a link and then the set of chains are linked together. That's what this looks like to me. And it has a nice shine to the surface of the threads, because the fabric has some shine to the surface of the fabric as well. Isn't it amazing how it's so different from the first one? So now you see what knitted fabric looks like. The edge actually looks very, very different. The edge looks smooth, which makes sense, because when you cut knitted fabrics, especially the fabric like Scuba, neoprene, sometimes you don't even need to finish the edge because the edge does not fray. And the knit is so tight that you can't even see anything under. You know, with the cotton one, now this makes sense. That's why they say cotton fabrics are breathable, because when we looked through the cotton one earlier on, we could actually see the surface of the board underneath the cotton fabric, but this knitted one is so tightly like put together, and the threads are knitted in such a way that I can't even see what is underneath this fabric, compared to the cotton one that it had the tiny squares and you could probably see like the white surface underneath. So the next fabric we're going to be looking at is one of my favorite types of fabrics to work with, which is Ankara, African print, lots of vibrant colors. This was one I used for my jumpsuits 3 or 4 tutorials ago. It is usually a cotton fabric. Some people and some companies have been able to mix it with polyester. I've seen some silk ones, some with elastane, but it normally is a cotton blend. I think what I'm most curious about is seeing what the colors on the different threads look like under the microscope, because we've seen what cotton looks like. Now let's see what colored cotton used to create a pattern actually looks like. Dude, that looks so cool. So it has the same like weave formation as a plain cotton, but from what I can distinctly see is you can tell parts that were printed with black ink, blue ink, white ink to then create the beautiful design that Ankara fabrics that we know and love usually have. So this one here has some sky blue, black, light blue, and then there's some black again. And as you just move the fabric underneath the microscope, you can see the different like dyes on the different parts of the cotton. Ooh, that looks very weird. They look like worms. It actually looks very weird. What are those?
Would you be scared if you saw like little animals crawling?
Ah, yes, of course now. Like even like this is already making my skin feel some type of way. So imagine seeing little like worm, like just seeing things move inside that right now would actually freak me out. So the next thing we'll be looking at is some clear PVC. PVC means polyvinyl chloride. I think that's what it's called, and it's made from petroleum. It's literally a clear plastic sheet. I used this to make a tote bag from, I think it was late last year. I don't know what this will look like. I just feel like this is going to be transparent underneath the microscope, but I just want to see. It looks like frozen ice. That's what it looks like to me. Like the surface of like a frozen lake or something. Jorge and the cutter. Let's make an incision. It literally looks like it's sharp. Like if I put my hand on that edge, it will cut me. It looks like a piece of glass. It doesn't really have any like molecular pattern or anything like the last 3 fabrics we've looked like. This one is just almost transparent, but zoomed up close like this, it feels like flexible glass with a very sharp edge, because George made an incision through just to like get more interesting sides to it. But yeah, it's transparent even to the core. Fabric number 5 is I want to call this Jacquard because it feels like Jacquard, looks like Jacquard. I think it's Jacquard, I could be wrong. So that's what the fabric looks like up close. It has nice texture on the surface. It has a combination of blue, grays, and browns in there. Like this, it already looks really cool. I just thought it'd be even nicer to check out all of these interesting threads under the microscope. Let's check it out. Oh shoot! This one looks like it is woven, and then threads are woven over the weave to create some of the hairy texture that the fabric has. Because when you look at the fabric, it actually looks like it has like that soft touch furriness to it. So from what I can see now, it has a normal weave that like your cotton has, and I feel like either they went back or somewhere in the process of creating the fabric, it was configured in such a way that extra threads were woven over to create the pattern that the fabric has, which is just impressive. So it's not like Ankara that, you know, we just saw a whole area covered in brown, a whole area covered in blue. This one, it's the threads woven intentionally to create the pattern that the fabric has. So it's so cool to see how you can create patterns either by printing on the fabric or by weaving the thread in such a way to create shapes, colors, and textures like we can see in this one. That just looks so cool. But it's interesting to see how threads of different thickness and different widths and different colors have been sort of married together to create this textile. That's just genius, honestly speaking. I feel like I need to visit a fabric weaving factory in the future, like a factory or like a studio where they weave fabrics.
Check this out. I can actually
Can you separate it?
Yeah, look.
Oh, that looks so weird.
Well, you can see that there is like a...
Oh my god. There's something holding it back. There, yeah. I think that the gray ones, yeah, I think that's what that layer was holding it back. So that is what we've been pulling out. That thread right there. Like, because it was woven into this side, and I think that's what was used to create these hairy textures here and here, is this thicker thread on this side. That, yeah, there we go. That's what the individual thread looks like. This was actually a lot of fun to film, looking at different fabrics, seeing how the different threads were like put together, whether they were woven, knitted, what they look like ripped slightly in the middle, what they look like at the edges. I think I just enjoyed looking at it like at such high magnified like level. It was so satisfying as well. I don't know if it's because I am someone who appreciates textiles, or it's my science background, or if it's just a combination of everything, but this was really fun. Let me know if you guys enjoyed it as well. Also, would you like to see a part 2? We have lots of fabrics. The microscope is at home. We're in lockdown. And if you enjoyed today's video, let me know in the comment section down below if you'd like to see a part 2. What kind of fabrics would you like us to look at? What kind of textures would you like us to look at? And we could possibly make that happen if I'm able to convince George well enough. But if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you enjoyed watching it and you like what you see, make sure to subscribe and join the K-Divas fam if you haven't already. And until my next video, have a good morning, afternoon, and evening wherever you are. Bye.